Hello, and welcome to the Artificial Podcast with your host, Nick Myers.
Artificial
intelligence,
voice recognition,
machine learning,
robotics,
actionable analytics.
It is Nick's goal to help everyone understand the impact that emerging technologies are having on our lives both personally and within our organizations. Your glimpse into the growing world of emerging technology starts now.
Nick Myers.
Nick Myers. Nick Myers.
Nick Myers.
Well, Brett, it's been a while. It's been quite a while, actually, hasn't it?
It's been a while. Yeah. It has been a long time. But why has it been a long time? Segue.
Well, it's been a long time because, actually, we've been working on something pretty freaking cool, I must say. And I may be biased because...
I'm definitely biased.
I guess we don't really have to argue about who came up with the idea for what we built because we've been actively talking about it for several months.
This has been since we started 2 years ago.
Correct. And that is something we're going to talk about because if you've been a listener of the Artificial Podcast for a while, you know my feelings on voice assistants and how many times I've said, boy, Brett, or boy, whoever I'm talking with, I wish that we could build or I could build my own voice assistant because, Alexa's okay, Google's okay, but it could always be better. Not saying that ours is better, but I'm just happy
Most people probably think that, Siri's not good. Siri's trash. But Alexa's pretty good. Google's pretty good. But, if you could take those restrictions away, at a developer standpoint, right? Consumers aren't worried about restrictions on developing these different applications on digital assistants, right? It's just us.
Right.
So we see the backside of everything, and we see the the flaws in Alexa, Google, and we see the benefits in having your own and making your own.
Yes. And with that being said, welcome everybody.
Oh, yeah, welcome.
Welcome back to the Artificial Podcast. We missed you. We're happy to be back. Thank you for listening if you are an artificial podcaster who's been with us for a long time and maybe you've been wondering to yourself for the last several weeks, boy, oh boy, I don't know where Nick and Brett been. My life is descending into chaos.
Is our audience like Pinocchio or Geppetto from Pinocchio?
I don't know.
Or that sounded like Mickey Mouse, actually. Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy, where have Nick and Brett gone? I sure enjoyed listening to them talk about tech and nonsense. Well, boy,
I need to come back and make me some more monies.
We're going off the deep end now. But no, we actually are very happy to be back.
I've been there the whole time, buddy.
Shut up, Brett. You don't count. But you really have no idea how difficult it has actually been because we've been so busy working on what we've been working on to actually say, all right, we got to come back to the Artificial Podcast. We have to start talking about all the crazy things happening in emerging tech again, get some really good guests back on the show. So we're doing it.
Because, man, that first year we did this in 2020. Oh, 2020. You had so many guests going.
No. The first year we did this was in 2019.
What?
We started in May of 2019.
What year was it that we stopped having guests? And was that 2020?
We didn't stop having guests in 2020. It just got less and less and less. When 2021 hit is when the guest thing kind of...
When in 2019 did we start?
In May.
Bah. It's been that long. We spent two and a half years almost?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my God.
This is episode 87.
Gasp! Oh, my God. Yeah, gasp.
Anyhow, why are we getting together today after this long break? Well,
I don't know.
First and foremost, folks, Brett and I, as we have alluded to, have been hard at work on finally, and I say finally with a breath of just deep excitement, we have finally built our own voice assistant. And in our return episode
it's not a physical assistant, though. But you'll explain that probably.
Yes, we have finally built our own voice assistant. Thank the heavens. And we are going to tell you all about the many trials and tribulations that we have encountered along the way. Right, Brett? It's been fun.
Yes. No. Well, you know what? Actually, I find joy in realizing there's a problem within my code or within the interface that I'm building and fixing it.
But I will start.
I'm a huge puzzle riddle solver. You know
Let me start by saying this, Brett, though, that I am still very much astounded that you have been able to build a fully functioning digital/voice assistant that can be integrated into any website within just a matter of a few months. I really am impressed by that.
With the help of Google and YouTube.
Probably shouldn't admit that.
Shout out to why can't I admit that? That's
I don't know, because when people think that you're building your own voice assistant, they probably don't think that you're getting a lot of information from Google and freaking YouTube.
That's the only place I get information.
Great, reveal more of your secrets.
You think I'm buying like secret books from the Library of Alexandria? Like, what are you talking about?
Brett, all I'm saying is I think when we tell people that we've actually built a voice assistant, the first thing that goes to their mind isn't, wow, I wonder what YouTube videos he used.
Well, what do you think? I think a lot of developers these days use Google and YouTube.
Yeah, but I tend to portray you as a master coder savant.
Okay, so you're saying if you're a magician, don't show your tricks, like the behind the scenes of your tricks.
Sure, you can go with that.
Is this your card?
Yep, you can go with that. I like that.
All right.
Never reveal the magician's secrets.
All right.
Although you just did.
I'll edit all that out. I probably won't. It'll be a long beep.
You
for
just
like 30
revealed
seconds.
your biggest secret ever. Imagine down the road.
Google and YouTube.
Imagine down the road we grow the company and we're able to integrate VLab into all these different at-home diagnostic testing providers, and we're sitting in some interview. So, what's the magic behind VLab? How'd you do it? And the camera pans over to Brett, and Brett's, YouTube.
Now when I say when I say Google leads. Okay, so I was also looking at Microsoft documentation and articles, which you can get to through Google.
Good to know.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
But really, I think as much as I'm giving you shit.
Before you continue.
Hang on.
Okay.
As much as I'm giving you shit for this, I think you pulling this off in the time span that you have, using resources publicly available on the internet that can be accessed by anyone, is a real testament to how you can learn and do anything you want.
Yeah.
In 2021.
If you want to do something, you can absolutely just go do it.
Right.
It's pretty simple. People are like, how do you do this? Like Google, YouTube. That's all you need.
Because really, I mean, yeah, you've learned a lot of different programming languages over the last few years. You've built a lot of different things to give you, I feel, a very solid skill set. But to do this, we didn't even think we'd be able to do it several months ago. And then we made a plan, you put your mind to it. I kind of pushed you along, but I really just let your obsessive brain handle the whole thing. And here we are.
Yep. I want to say shout out to Nate. He helped me get started.
Nobody knows who Nate is, Brett.
He's our previous intern that worked for us for free. He's the one that found the first article about how chatbots and stuff. Now, is what we built a chatbot? No, but we use the framework of chatbots to build a digital voice assistant.
Yes. And I have a thing in our notes here. Provide backstory on VLab. Oh yeah, we call it VLab, by the way. Left that part out.
That we do.
Anyhow, wrapping this all together, kind of pulling all of our tangents into one. Yes, the reason we have been gone for the last, several weeks has been because we've been working on building our own digital assistant that we have built specifically for at-home diagnostic testing providers. Well, I guess biotech and life science companies that offer at-home diagnostic testing products, medical devices, any type of home health care. And there actually is a very powerful story behind this that I don't think I've ever shared. Because, again, if you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you know that we've always been a voice technology company. We've always been working with Alexa, Google Assistant, whatever. But we don't really have a focus. And throughout the pandemic, I really had to take a step back, being in the role that I'm in, and think about what are we actually trying to do? And who are we actually trying to do it for? What problem are we trying to solve that will actually, I don't want to say change the world because that's so cliche, but that will actually help people? And I thought about an experience that I had as a kid, and I've probably mentioned it on this show. I am a survivor of childhood leukemia. And back in 2003, 2004, at the age of 8, 9 years old, I had a very, very, very hard time taking any type of oral medication. In fact, my parents could only buy me liquid over-the-counter medication because every time I tried to take a pill, I would vomit. Not really a great scenario to be in, especially if you're undergoing chemotherapy treatment and 90% of the medication you take has to be oral.
Yeah.
So it eventually got to the point where my doctor sat my parents down and said, well, he clearly can't take pills, so you're going to have to start giving him injections in his legs at home of chemotherapy. Now, you would normally think this would sound terrifying to an 8 or 9-year-old, but on the contrary, because I knew that I needed the medication, so I just accepted the fact that I would need to get shots in my legs every couple of weeks. Whatever, I had been poked and prodded so much at this point anyhow.
Yeah.
Now, my parents maybe got 15 to 20 minutes of training on how to give me these injections at the clinic I was going to, which, in hindsight, why was it only 15 to 20 minutes? That doesn't seem like nearly as much time as you would need to train somebody on how to do this. Anyhow, several weeks later, the medication finally shows up at our doorstep, and I, of course, am stressed out and freaking out, sitting in our bathroom like, oh my God, my parents are going to give me shots. Jesus, what's going on? What's going to happen? And, of course, being a parent, you probably have a lot of questions in the moment that you didn't have in the clinic when you were just getting, trained and shown. The real questions happen in the moment when you're about to actually do it. And I kid you not, the amount of hurdles that I had to witness my parents jump over to try and just get simple questions and simple information answered. And of course, this was back in 2003, 2004, so all websites sucked, even if, especially a hospital. Look, what hospital had a website back in 2003 and 2004?
Yeah, you don't really think about that, do you?
It's not like you also had an iPhone that you could just pull up and get your information answered on the internet either. You had to go to a desktop PC that took forever to load, all this stuff. So
and most people didn't have it, right?
Correct. So the internet was clearly out at this point. So they wound up calling the hospital, and the hospital had a really bad interactive voice response, IVR, the pre-recorded phone messages that you have to go through that customer service has, and they kept getting routed to different places. It was just a freaking nightmare. And I remember watching them remember watching them go through this. And then ultimately, after about 35 to 40 minutes, they finally got in touch with my clinic at the hospital and the doctors to just get a few questions answered. Yeah. And I really thought about that experience. And I said to myself, that is a problem that needs to be solved, because that is a problem that even in the age of the internet, in the age of smartphones, in the age of all this access to information that we have, there still is a large problem with people in the home setting getting the information they need when they're using any type of at-home testing or medical device. I mean, I've witnessed it. There are people in my family who've gone through this still, even beyond that experience I just shared. So I really thought about it, and I said, this is the problem that I want to fix. And this is a problem that we can fix using voice technology. Because, number one, how cool would it be to just go to the website of, the provider you got your test from, or medical device, or hospital, whatever, and you can just talk to the most realistic, intelligent digital assistant that you've ever come across that can support you and give you the information you need when you need it. No hurdles, no friction. You can just talk to it. You don't have to even talk to another human being, because it is the ultimate customer support agent,
Yep.
No attitude. It's a quality experience every single time. And then you look at the problems it can solve for the provider. I mean, it can help them automate so many different aspects of their business, saving money, allowing them to get access from patients that they never had access to before. That helps them make the tests better.
Yep.
So this was the catalyst for everything Brett and I have been working on. And I went to Brett and I said, Brettley, best big buddy.
Yeah, what's up?
Are you saying, yeah, what's up?
I'm just playing,
Oh,
up the
okay.
thing.
I want to build our own voice assistant to solve this problem. And what did
How do you
Brett
expect
say?
me to do that?
Correct. Brett threw his hands up in the air and the papers went flying everywhere and he walked out of the room.
I
No,
just
I'm
learned how to
kidding.
build for Alexa and Google. What the hell?
Which that's not true. Brett had already been building things for Alexa and Google for a while at this point. But yeah, Brett pretty much said, yeah, I don't know how to do that. And I said, well, I guess we'll figure it out. So guess what? Fast
You're like,
forward
yeah,
several months
figure
later,
it out.
and
Like,
we figured it
okay.
out. So it's just pretty exciting.
Which I would say I
must
had the rough draft done from, I think I started mid-April. Like mid-April, I probably Google searched my first thing. And then I think I had a rough draft done by like the end of May,
Yep.
where it was operating, but we didn't have any of the guts in it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And we kind of already had a basis for the system that we built for Alexa and Google Assistant, but it just wasn't what... I mean, it again, not knocking Alexa and Google Assistant, but it's just, there's something about having your own technology that you can do whatever you want with. I mean, the opportunities are just endless. Anyhow, we built that in several weeks. I should say Brett built that in several weeks with my gracious support.
The first,
wink.
the first big hurdle I remember was having the back end run on its own without like Amazon or Google servers.
Remember that day we met in our office and wrote all that stuff on the whiteboard about some of the problems you're experiencing? That seems so long ago now.
Oh my, yeah, it does. It seems like a year ago.
But with that being said, and I think this is probably a good question for you to dive into is, what were some of the biggest challenges that you personally had to overcome doing this, Brett? Because there could be people listening right now who are like, I really want to build my own voice assistant, or I don't even know where to begin. But what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Because
people out there, you have to understand, I didn't go to college for any of this, so I don't have a broad spectrum on.
Again, you're revealing your magician's hand.
I don't have a broad view when it comes to all this tech stuff. I have a very focused in niche on like voice assistants and stuff, but it's more broad now because I can do HTML and CSS and all that stuff, and make interfaces. But I'd say the biggest hurdle was figuring out how to have a standalone backend run on its own without the servers that Alexa and Google provided. I had to figure out how to do it on AWS. So now we have a backend server running on AWS, deploying different, algorithms to the people that want to use our voice assistant.
Well, and I think we could probably go into a million and one different challenges, but I remember that being a big one that you were concerned about.
The other one that pops up in my head is having everything run on HTTPS.
Yes, the HTTPS issue. Which,
yes.
For people who are for anybody who's listening, HTTPS, when you go to a website and you see the little padlock symbol in Google Chrome, whatever web browser you use, it is secured using HTTPS basically to protect your personal info. Just a preface. Continue.
I built everything. I built my whole backend on a Node server, which runs on HTTP. So I went and put everything in production ready on our website. It said, "Hey, you can't do this because this is going from HTTPS to HTTP, which is not allowed." So what I had to do was, put the server on our AWS, put the Node server on our AWS container that's running, constantly 24/7, and then have an application load balancer displayed.
Brett,
so the
you're
application
just
load
gibberish right now.
The application load balancer takes in the HTTPS call from the browser, transitions that to HTTP to a target HTTP, which then targets to our port run on 5000 that I decided to put on to our container. And that was a big hurdle that I had no idea how to do. And I figured that out in a week or two.
See, but everything Brett just described there, for nobody who has any dev experience, that's actually a pretty big problem that it took him at least a week or two to work through.
And who knows, maybe some professional dev expert that's been working in this industry for 30 years will come in and be like, why the hell did you do it that way, and do it better in like 2 seconds.
See, but that's what's amazing about this, and what I find is actually the beauty of it, is there is no one right or wrong way to do what we did.
Nope. And you know what? That's what I've learned over the past 2.5 years of learning like JavaScript and different code languages is I always thought there was like one path to do everything. There's not. There's thousands of different paths, and some paths are better than others. and you just decide which path you want to take. And some paths your application runs better on.
And I think that is an important lesson here. And also on top of that, it seems you have a knack for once you build something, as you've been doing the last week or so, you're able to learn something else and you're like, oh, I can condense this or make it better this way. And I think that's a benefit of building our own tech as well.
I'd like to go into that as well. You just brought up the whole React thing I've been working on now. So I was learning, from April to I'd say about mid-July, I've been learning not learning raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I already knew all that, but everything was built on raw HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way, because I don't want to copy and paste 50 lines of code onto a customer's website. That's stupid. Nobody else does that. I'm doing something wrong. So I learned React, which helps condense everything down to like about 5 lines that we can copy and paste onto customers' websites. And it's just more efficient. Everything runs faster and everything's coded.
Yeah, you see, everyone. Now that Brett and I have an office for our business in downtown Madison, which that's an update. We never talked about that. Brett and I have actually been working in the same space now, which we have never done before. And I think the most fascinating thing that I've learned working with Brett is Brett has this very unique ability to just sit there and work on something for 8 hours without moving.
Yeah. Brett, you want to go have lunch? No.
Whereas me, I work in sprints where I can work for like maybe 1 to 3 hours max, and then I have to take a break.
I can't do that.
Go do something else.
This is how my
Brett
brain
will just sit there and work and work and work
I can't
until
do that,
until he gets whatever he's working on finished.
So like if I worked in sprints, my ADD, well, I don't have ADD or anything, but I'm just saying, like, I'd be focused on something else. Like, I'd lose interest in what I was working on if I worked in sprints. So when I focus in on something, I have to focus in on it until it's done. Otherwise, it's not going to get done.
Which is probably a very good working habit, because I think most people tend to take too much on and overly multitask. Me. And sometimes you can't be nearly as efficient as you could be if you just focused on one thing sequentially like you do. So I've learned that about working with you, and I think that's honestly one of the main reasons why you've been able to build this so quickly, to be quite honest.
I didn't tell you last night. I worked probably 6 hours last night on the
Of course you did.
web interface, yeah. After I was done playing games.
That's another thing. Brett works until like 1, 2 in the morning too, just for fun, you know?
Yeah, like I got off of gaming with my friends, and I'm like, well, what can I do now? So I just turned on a movie, which was Catch Me If You Can, and I just worked on the web interface some more to make it better.
Didn't I show you that for the first time I went to that conference like last year?
No, I saw it like twice before you showed me it.
You lied to me then, because you said you'd never seen it before.
I think I was really young, so I didn't remember it. So I just, to make it feel better, I said I never saw it.
Or you didn't care to explain it to me. So
yeah, I just didn't care. Like, I don't want to tell you my life story, so I'm like, nah, I never saw it.
Anyhow, so yeah, I think those were some of the big lessons we learned. But even more interesting, I think through this process and building a web-based digital assistant, is it made me personally realize that the internet for voice technology and conversational AI is incredibly uncharted territory, but also insanely valuable. Because when you think about it, so far people have been exposed to voice technology, through Siri or Alexa or Google, and they're all tied to a piece of hardware. But the internet can be accessed over multiple pieces of hardware. Really anything, any smartphone, any desktop PC, tablet. And it just shocks me, after going through this process, how few companies and people there seem to be in the voice tech industry building things for the web. I know there's a handful out there. I'm not saying there's nobody, but I'm really shocked that there is not a greater focus on the web because of how accessible it is. And that's one of the main reasons why we decided to build this web interface or this digital assistant for the web, is because there's so few hurdles to use it. You just open your web browser, you go to the website, and you tap on it, or you click on it. That's
Yeah.
it. Versus Alexa or Google, you either have to have the standalone app, I guess unless you're running Android. But with Alexa, you have to have a standalone app, or you have to be using a piece of Amazon hardware, or a piece of hardware that integrates with Alexa, which there are many, but
Yeah.
I just feel like, and maybe that's good for general purpose stuff. Like Alexa and Google Assistant, they're very general purpose, right? But I've always viewed voice technology as something that needs to start solving specific problems. Or I should say, I've always viewed voice technology as a tool that can be used to create a positive human outcome solving a specific problem.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's so much general stuff going on, which is why just having built something for a specific purpose that can be accessed on the web really just makes me wonder why there is not a greater focus in this industry on the web right now. I'm not seeking an answer from you. I'm just it boggles my mind. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's because, well, honestly, it's because Alexa and Google's tools are already there, right? You don't need to create your own thing. You don't need to create your own tool set because the tools are there. But it's just like, it's really made me think about what the shelf life is for skills and actions and
learn all this different code and back end stuff these past few years. I've come to realize that anybody can really build anything, and I've wondered why some people haven't built some things. And I think it just comes down to people just don't care, or there's no passion behind it, or there's no incentive or no money behind it.
I have noticed that through the process of building our digital assistant and the ease of using it on the web, that I feel like, and again, this is probably just me being biased because I'm using what we built, but I find that I'm using that more. And I cannot tell you the last time I have used an Alexa skill. I cannot tell you the last time I have used a Google action. I mean, clearly people are using them. I know millions of people are using them, but it's like, what? You got to start wondering when you look at how vast the web is and the accessible nature of deploying a digital assistant to a website that can be accessed anywhere, that you can actually make more intelligent and actually solve specific problems. What is the shelf life on some of the stuff Amazon and Google has produced? And it's stagnant. It feels so stagnant. And I feel like, I don't know. It's this whole thing has made me realize a lot about voice technology and question where this industry is headed and what the end goal is.
Well, there's also no like for customers on a customer's POV. There's no we take off the shackles. We can customize anything we want with this. There's no barriers. There's no boundaries.
The thing. I feel there is so much more value for enterprise adoption when it's native to the web and stuff that they already have. If I were an enterprise customer, and even the enterprise customers we've talked with, versus using Alexa or Google.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just, it shocks me that I don't feel like I see, let alone I've been absent from social media the last several months, but even before then, not seeing a whole lot of people using this technology on the web. When that seems to me, and I'm going to use the overly used buzzword here, that seems like such low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
So, and I think we've realized what the key differentiators are between web-based and having our own digital assistant versus using Alexa and Google Assistant. Sure, you don't get the templates and, the machine learning training that Amazon and Google provide, but we can do all that ourselves, and there's the opportunity down the road that if we grow the company and grow our team, we can do it, I even think, probably better in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, if you wanted to do a custom voice and train a custom voice for an Alexa skill,
yeah,
I guess I signed that NDA with Amazon. All I can say is it costs a lot of money, and you can only use it on Alexa, versus what we've built now, we can do that for not nearly as much money as Amazon would charge. And
will it take 300 recordings and take 10 hours to train the AI system to voice train?
And we can
we
can apply it. But my point is,
it won't cost us a house.
We can take that custom voice and apply it to so many different avenues without being locked into these ecosystems that seem just to be overly expensive. And in some cases, the technology is very stagnant. So this has just opened up so many doors, and we can do whatever we want with it. Not to mention, I have never been a believer in pre-recorded voice recordings. There's going to be a lot of people that get angry at me when I say that, and I've said it in the past, but the future of this technology is not in people pre-recording their voice like it's a recording or a podcast.
Like pre-recorded voice for digital assistants is like saying, hey, let me go for a swim, but let me first put cinder blocks on my feet.
It might as well just be an IVR system, because that's how most IVR systems work. And the future of this industry, and I've noticed that with some things that the Open Voice Network is starting to work on, and they have a synthetic voice working group, the future of this technology is in high-quality synthetic voice and a marketplace for that. If anybody is listening who's in voice technology and you want a billion-dollar idea, and there's probably people already working on this, come up with a marketplace for synthetic voices.
Ooh, just all around like synthetic voices.
Yeah,
we could do that.
You're the medium between, you know, you record people's voices and provide a license or an API for it, and you give that to companies and voice developers to use. Because once you train these custom neural voices and these custom models, it's just there and it's done.
Well, because right now it's kind of like a streaming service. Like there's different voices with each company. Like IBM has voices, Alexa has voices, Google has voices, Microsoft has voices. But you're talking about like one place you can go that has like thousands and thousands of synthetic voices.
Yes.
Yeah.
High quality, usable synthetic voices. And it could be, you know, from celebrities. It could be from prominent business people. It could be, I mean, the opportunities are endless, and I guarantee there's somebody probably working on that.
Yeah, they have to be. That'd be amazing, having an SSML like tag that you can use and just API to one website that has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of synthetic
Genius
voices.
business idea.
That'd be
we should
amazing.
Probably do it ourselves.
No, we totally could. That would be totally plausible.
Anyhow. So, yeah, this whole thing has made me think differently about this industry and what the real value is and what we're actually trying to do. Are we actually trying to use voice as a tool, not as the solution, as a tool that can generate a positive human outcome by solving a specific problem for somebody? And I just feel like that's not happening. And this has made me think about a lot. And even more interesting, I think you and I can both agree there has always been a lot of issues with trust between users and voice technology, especially after a few years ago it coming out that Apple and Amazon and Google were having people listening to recordings without consent, right? Mm-hmm. And I've definitely noticed in some of the conversations we had when we say, yeah, VLab, you know, it can be deployed on your own website, you know, we can configure it so it's got your branding and everything. You know, the trust factor, I would imagine, and we haven't done a whole lot of research into this, but I imagine the trust threshold is a lot lower when you're using something from a provider you trust and something that you've always been familiar with that you know isn't a massive tech company that has trillions of bytes of data versus using one of the larger platforms that you know all the data is getting collected and used in ways you don't know versus, say, for example, you know, I'm using a cholesterol test from, you know,
a couple of guys that built
a company that's been around for 100 years, and they're just trying to be more innovative and tech affluent and want to provide a different channel for patients to interact with them. I feel like the trust threshold is a lot lower when it's an independent digital assistant like that versus one of the massive platform providers run by large tech conglomerates that nobody trusts anymore.
Who's more trustworthy? Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or Red Fox AI with Nick and Brett?
But that's also the thing. I feel like because we grew up in this age of lack of privacy policy and standards, I feel like...
dumb.
Well, it's not even that. I feel like us building this, maybe even subconsciously looking at how we've built it, I feel like we've built it with a very high degree of privacy in mind. And there's this whole privacy by design concept that I'm trying to do more research into. Thank you to the Privacy Security Work Group of the Open Voice Network for turning me on to that. But I just feel like in the long term, digital assistants that are going to succeed are designed with privacy in mind, and I feel like subconsciously we've been doing that looking at ours.
Oh, learning all this, I can see why our tech friends are worried about privacy with those companies. Before I was like, man, whatever, who cares?
yeah.
But they can literally collect your life
My thoughts
and
on
they could probably create a clone of you if they
my
wanted to.
thoughts on privacy have changed so much over the last several
They
months.
can-
Well, I should say over the last
To people out there, they
year,
can
2
do
years.
whatever they want. They can collect whatever they want. Anything you
So-
say. They have a whole script of it.
But Brett,
Yeah.
if you could go back and do it again, what would you do differently? I know what my answer to this question is, but I thought I'd lob it by you.
Go
first.
back and rebuild this web interface. Just erase my memory
Yes.
and do it over, but with the knowledge of what I could do
How
differently.
about not erase your memory? That would make sense. I know what I would personally do differently. I would
Okay.
invest a lot more time into the design aspect and the project planning part of this, because I feel like the whole time I was just firing from the hip, being like, yeah, I think we should do that. Throw it on the whiteboard. Yeah, I think we should do that. Throw it on the whiteboard. Not a whole lot of strategic planning. That is what I would do differently.
Yeah.
You have no answer to this question.
I can't think of anything because maybe research more. Maybe it's don't do as much but research more. I think before I was doing a lot of trial and error, where if I would have just read some more articles, there would have been less error and less trial. I don't know. I'm more of a
I've learned.
I'm
Brett
more
is
of
not
a
an
I'm gonna
on-the-spot
put
question person.
I'm gonna put this code in here and see if it works instead of reading this article that could help me out. You know,
Honestly, that's probably a good way to do it. You probably have a lot of developers say they do the same thing because that's how
Yeah.
you know.
true, yeah.
But actually, I think, since there is no one right way to do this, we probably made mistakes. I know we made mistakes, and even the way that we built it, we don't even know if it is the right way, because there is no right way. But there isn't a whole lot I don't think I would go back and do again differently, other than what I mentioned about just not firing from the hip. As
I can't
much in terms
really
of decisions and project management and.
There's so many different paths. I can't think of anything that I do differently because everything's gonna lead down the same road, basically.
So,
Or
well,
same outcome, I should say.
that was fun.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say on this.
Nope, I don't either. I'm good
I
to
just
go.
wanted to update everybody on what we've been working on and how excited we are. We're doing an official launch on Monday, August 16th. By launch, I just mean probably some screenshots and maybe a brief video, press release, that type of stuff. We're hopefully to get an official video done soon. No timeline on that. And we are going to, you have no idea how much we've QA'd and tested this thing, but we're always looking for more feedback, so we're going to be opening up a whole friends and family beta testing thing and all this stuff. But I'm proud of us, Brett. I am proud of us for what we've done here, and I really, really hope we can help a lot of people with this. I really do.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a hope. I know we will.
Then another awesome thing about this thing is it can be customized for any industry too. So
Yes,
We're-
we're talking.
yeah,
We're talking with a local restaurateur here in Madison after we told him what we built, and he's like, can this be used on independent restaurant websites to help them improve the order flow of people ordering food? I'm like, probably. So now
Yeah.
we may be doing an engagement with him. So
we got health industry, we got food industry.
yeah, again, the beauty of developing your own thing. So anyhow, that was fun. I actually enjoyed
Yeah.
talking about that.
That was
So, what do some of the next few weeks look like for the Artificial Podcast? Well, next week, I actually have a really neat guest who will be joining me on the show, Jason Mars, who is a professor of computer science at the University of Michigan. He also helped found the company Clink, which for those of you in the voice tech space, you've undoubtedly heard of. But Jason and I are going to be having a really good conversation just on conversational AI, his journey, some of the really neat things he's working on, and really, Jason has some very strong views, and actually we both share these views on how we can make conversational AI more innovative and not stagnant like it is now. Anyhow, Jason's just, I chatted with him a few weeks ago before we scheduled our recording, and he's just a really, really cool, just fascinating person that I'm really excited to have on the show. We have another guest lined up too that I'll be doing an interview with him over the next few weeks. Ben Kovalis from art.ai. They are actually a London/Israeli-based AI company that creates unique artwork using artificial intelligence. It's actually some of the coolest stuff that I've ever seen. So that's going to be a really good episode. You don't want to miss that one. Brett and I are getting together every week, and we're starting to record again, so you'll have stuff from us every week moving forward is the goal. And, of course, we do have our Artificial Podcast website, which we've been talking about prior to this little break that we took. And we have uploaded all of our past episodes, so if you want to go and listen to all of our episodes starting from day one in May of 2019 up until now, you can do that on our website. And of course, all you have to do is visit us on the web at www.theartificialpodcast.com. And if you want to join our Discord community, which we are actively trying to grow, to talk about, things that we've discussed in the episodes and connect with other artificial podcasters and get some additional content and really just be a part of our community, highly encourage you to join our Discord community, which you can do by heading over to our website. And on top of that, if you really love listening to the Artificial Podcast, then we highly recommend you become a subscriber on Patreon. We got some really neat things that you get. What am I trying to say here, Brett? We have some really interesting tiers on Patreon that include shout-outs and bonus content and special Discord channels. And, we have a variety of different things that you get from being a Patreon subscriber. So
We'll be coming up with different incentives and different episodes or extra content for people that subscribe to those different tiers.
Correct.
And go
But
on
if you
Discord.
really love the show, if you want to support us and all the work that we put into this, of course, we'd appreciate it beyond belief. But you can head over to patreon.com/theartificialpodcast. And then, of course, if you want to keep up to date with us on social media, follow The Artificial Podcast on Facebook and Twitter at The Artificial P. See? Right there. Which I really wish
Artificial P.
I really wish I could change that tag, but Twitter won't let me.
Why is it The Artificial P? Why? Is it too long or something or what?
Too long. Other people take stuff. That old chestnut.
Somebody has The Artificial Podcast?
I think it's too long.
Okay.
Anyhow. Well, this was fun. We'll be back next week. Stay safe. Take care of one another.
You should just call it Tap on Twitter. Or that's probably taken too.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh well.
Anyhow. Have a great week. We'll be back next week.
See you later.
Artificial
Intelligent. Voice recognition.
machine learning.
Robotic.
You've been listening to the Artificial Podcast with your host, Nick Myers.
Nick Myers.
To stay up to date with all of our latest episodes, you can subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Or you can visit us on the web at www.theartificialpodcast.com. Until next time,